How's it going, guys? It's your boy Yusuf, the homie Jack, and Dan, and welcome to another episode of Crunch Time NBA edition. And boys, I'm just gonna be honest, we're seeing a lot of dogfights in these past couple of games, especially in the semifinals. You had the Clippers beating the Jazz 4-2. You had the Suns dominating the Nuggets 4-0. We've seen an intense game seven with the Bucks and the Nets going at it. And we also have one more coming at 8:30 tonight with the Sixers Hawks. I just want to get your opinions so far on it. Jack, we'll start off with you.
Obviously, I'm going to start off talking about the Nets here. Now, I don't know how it came to a game seven at all. I mean, obviously, we can talk about Kyrie getting hurt all day, but I still don't understand how the Nets let it get to this point. They had two perennial NBA Hall of Famers still on the team who went undefeated in the regular season when they were playing together statistically, because I know it was very hard to find games where, all three of them were playing together. And they, like, I thought if it was going to be down to like Kyrie and Durant, maybe it would have been a problem. Obviously, maybe I would have meddled with that experiment more because James Harden did not show up in this series. Dealing with look, I'm not going to take anything away from him. He was dealing with a grade 2 hamstring pull or sprain, whatever you want to call it, with his hamstring. I'm not going to pretend that I know exactly what was going on there. I know he had hamstring issues. Harden had to carry the team throughout the entire semifinals. I don't think he played less than 42 minutes in any of those 7 games. He did not get rest on the bench last night. You could visibly see him. He was tired, especially in those like waning moments of the game. Airballed that 3-pointer that could have potentially won the game with 0.3 seconds left. And overall, I was upset. I was just upset. I was upset at the series. I really, Joe Harris didn't show up. Obviously, there have been rumors in our group going around that he might just be a regular season player. And you know what? He's 29 years old. I haven't seen anything of him in the playoffs. So maybe they're right. Blake Griffin fouled out. It was a hard game 7. Great game to watch, but overall, I'm obviously disappointed. Bucks better win the whole friggin' thing now. Because if they don't, I'm going to be even more upset. If you want to keep talking about the Eastern Conference Finals, we got the Hawks playing the Sixers tonight in Philadelphia. Should be a fun one to watch. 8:30 Eastern at time of recording today, Sunday, June 20th. Happy Father's Day, everybody. So, this is it's a tough game to call. All these games have been close. We've seen huge leads blown in this series. Obviously, Clint Capella has been doing really well in this series for the Hawks.
But I gotta say though, with this Sixers Hawks game, honestly, it all comes down to who wants it more. Because we've seen Trae Young come out and drop 30 points out of nowhere, help lead a 32 or 40-point comeback from game 5, I want to say. But then again, you also have Joel Embiid and the Sixers coming back in game 6 in Atlanta. And now it's in Philly. So it's basically it's a dogfight. Who wants it more at the end of the day? Dan, I know you sitting there silent. I know you wanted to say some stuff. But we want to get your solid opinion so far on these series.
Well, I just wanted to say at one point I was called crazy by some. And it's not every day you get to prove the people who are haters wrong. So I just want to say, go Bucks. They proved Jack wrong. All right. I was called crazy for picking the Milwaukee Bucks, but they came through. For the first time in Giannis' career, that man came through, not only making good decisions yesterday for the first time, like all series, it seemed, instead of dribbling down the court and jacking up a 3 like he was Steph Curry. He made the right decision. He actually made some free throws, whether or not within 10 seconds is debatable, very debatable, okay? But he came through finally I think the Bucks did not play their best basketball that whole series. I mean, Brook Lopez, what was that guy doing? He has, Bruce Brown on him, and he's posting up from the 3-point line trying to shoot a 3. He's got, Shaman on him. He's jacking up a three. Like, dude, go in the post and like call for it, man. Go post up. Get a, you know what I'm saying? Harden, I will say it was tough seeing that. I wanted to see him full health, obviously, because what we saw in Houston was he couldn't get it done. So, but I mean, playing with that grade 2 strain, obviously, I respect him for that. He was taking on Giannis in the post. And that's one thing I hate about Harden, though, is you'll never see that guy shoot a jump shot and land on 2 feet. Never. I mean, every time his feet go like this and he falls on his ass. So I just get really annoyed watching him. I'm just tired of him. I mean, he had like 12 free throws or something. It's like ridiculous. Like every time he shoots it, he gets fouled, supposedly. But I'm just really tired of that. I think KD actually, as the series went on, just said, screw the fouls. I'm just taking it. And I think in the beginning, that was kind of his problem. He was like, PJ Tucker, you know, he's fouling me. And then I think he just said, screw it, man. I'm just taking it to this guy. I'm tired of looking for the refs. And that's what I really respect about KD. Like Jack said, played the last 3 games. I think he only rested 2 minutes. I think game 6, he rested 2 minutes. And he told Nash, no, I'm going back in. I don't need rest. So obviously at the end there, straight fatigue. All fatigue. That shot, he was an inch away from winning it for the Nets. I mean, this man did all he could. He earned my respect. Joe Harris, I don't know. He just, I mean, you know, I talk about guys for LeBron not making shots, but I knew someone was going to have to step up in that overtime because Durant was going to be fatigued. And Joe Harris, with like a minute left, wide open 3, nobody around him. And I mean, he just bricked it, and that was pretty much it. I love PJ Tucker. His competitive. I mean, he's like that dad out there who's just like, I'm taking the best player. Like, I'm that lockdown guy. He's not going to give you a lot on offense. He's going to make a corner 3 here or there. It's pretty much all he's got for you. But he's a competitor. And Chris Middleton, shout out. That dude, he's showing out. I mean, he's balling up. Mid-range maestro. I'm loving it. He's aggressive, and he wants the last shot. I like it. And with 2 seconds left, or what was it? The Bucks inbounded the ball with like 20 seconds left to Brook Lopez, and he pulled a J.R. Smith. He just held the ball in the corner. There's like 2 seconds on the shot clock, and he was like looking around. I was like, dude, what are you doing? I don't know what that play was. I don't know what they were trying to accomplish with that one. But they pulled it out. I mean, like Durant said, though, his big-ass feet. He actually wears a shoe size, like a shoe size higher than he would normally, like if he was just playing with like friends or something, he said. So I guess if he had the normal shoe size, they might have won the series. But yeah, and then for the Sixers, like you said, game 7, anything goes, anything can happen. So we'll just we'll see what happens with that. Trae Young's been going off, and Doc Rivers continues to blow leads. Joel Embiid continues to shrink in the clutch. I mean, the one game he was 11 for 11 from the free throw line. Game 5 when they blew that big lead. And they're down by 3. He goes to the line, and he misses both. And I'm just like, dude, you were 11 for 11 before that, and you missed both free throws? That's just embarrassing. I mean, you could put anyone who's not – like Giannis will make one of those probably. So – and Ben Simmons, I just is his jump shot just completely – is that, like, salvageable? Can they get, like, someone who knows how to, like a jump shooting coach? Right. Or is it just, like – is it just gone? Like, is there no chance for his jump shot?
Basically from there, honestly, with Ben Simmons, like, I feel like he has the gift. He has the gift to be potential. And, like, basically he could have been a star right now. He's like, what? This is like his 4th year in the league.
Yeah.
And 1, you can't shoot a jumper. 2, you can't even shoot threes. And 3, shoot, I don't even want to even talk about it. I felt disappointed as a ball.
With the wrong hand from the foul line.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's called hack a Ben.
Hold on.
You don't know if he's a lefty or righty. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Hold on a second. I feel like, you know what? This is partially what NBA Twitter does, and it's kind of what we do. We judge guys based on attributes that we think they should have. Look, Ben Simmons isn't a shooter. Obviously, we've learned this over the years. This man hasn't hit a single professional 3-pointer yet, I think, in his entire career. But please correct me if I'm wrong. Look, this guy's not a shooter. All right.
He took like 5 shots last game and he had like 4 points.
Okay, well, yeah, no, see, like, I understand that.
Like, you don't have to shoot. Like, LeBron's not a shooter, but he'll drive to the basket. I mean, you just got to make something happen. He's not doing anything right now. He's not being aggressive at all is what my saying. I'm not saying he has to start jacking him up from 3, but he has to at least get a salvageable jump shot like Giannis has, where it's at least like 20% of the time it might go in. Like he just has literally nothing. Like there's no, and he's not even aggressive. Like it's his confidence now. It's all in his head, because if you take 5 shots and you're like supposed to be the third scorer on the team, like what are you doing?
That is very true. Honestly, I feel like at the end of the day, it's like like a lot of coaches or a lot of people in the NBA, they're not realizing like Ben Simmons can't do certain things that they want him to do, and they're not adjusting to it. They're kind of just like praying that he actually gets that mindset to develop, like how Giannis is trying to do. But I feel like at the end of the day, he just doesn't care. He got his paycheck at the end of the day. He's like, what? Like, even if you cut him right now, he's still gonna be living large. Like,
I mean, I don't think. Listen, he's a great. I think he's a really great defender, and he brings a lot to the team. But I mean, just offensively, like scoring wise, he has to bring more. I mean, it's just like he's a good facilitator, and in transition, he's dynamite. But I mean, he just has to. I mean, other than if it's half court offense, he's just useless. Like he doesn't know what's going on. It looks like out there. I mean, take 5 shots and that's it. 1 shot in the second half, I think. I mean, like where are you at? Are you playing? And how many minutes he probably played? It's just not going to cut it. I mean, Joel Embiid can only do so much. I mean, he's got like a tear in his knee or something.
That's true.
And he's still hitting threes, at least in, maybe not like the end of regulation, but,
Right.
I see him out there. Every time you give Joel Embiid an open look from the arc, he usually gets it done.
Yeah.
It's true.
No, I just think Ben Simmons needs to be more aggressive on offense. I mean, as an Eagle fan, I follow a lot of Philadelphia fans, and they're just done with Ben Simmons. And he's a project. I mean, 2 years ago, he said, Hack of Ben won't be going on for much longer, and it's still going on. And that's 2 years later. I mean, it's not that hard to at least get a 60% consistent foul shot like Giannis has. It's not that difficult. I mean, like, Michael Jordan's making them with his eyes closed. Like, come on. Kobe's making it on torn meniscus. Come on. Like, we got to get something going here from the free throw line. Just focus on that, and then we can do everything else. That's like the basis of it. If you're hacking a point guard, there's problems. The point guard should not be. I mean, it's one thing if it's Shaquille O'Neal, but like, come on.
But moving right along. Since we're talking about the Sixers and the Hawks, like, I just wanted to get your guys' opinions. Like, what do you feel like is going to happen? Whoever wins or lose this series. I mean, granted, we're probably not going to see it until like another 30, 45 minutes when the game starts. Who's going to win it all? But personally, I feel like in the best way possible, I should say, how do you feel, or what type of statement would each team like bring to the table? Jack, I'm going to start off with you on this one. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, if we're talking about what each team brings to the table, depending on who, makes it to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think if the Sixers make it, I don't see them getting past the Bucks. I mean, look, obviously Ben Simmons hasn't really shown up too much in this recent series. Joel Embiid, he's playing through injuries and fatigue and all this. But you know what? I think that if they do make it there, I think they can at least bring, the status of I mean, they're the number 1 seed. They got to have like a chip on their shoulder for that reason. So, I mean, and it's not like they're not without talent. They got, Tobias Harris, all these other pieces. Doc Rivers, the head coach, he can say what you want. He blows leads. He's a legendary coach in NBA history. He's going to have his name probably in the hall. He's probably going to go to Naismith one day. So, I mean, you can't hate on that. And on the other end, for the Hawks, I actually see the Hawks maybe beating the Bucks if they can make it past Philly tonight. They've got so much momentum. They crushed I don't want to say crushed because I don't want to hurt your feelings, Yusuf, but they beat them in 5 games when everybody thought it was going to be a 7-game series. I mean, I don't think anybody was giving them a shot in the dark to beat Philadelphia. I think that everybody thought that Hawks next was going to be a throwaway series. Basically, who's going to get fed to Joel, in the next round. But they proved everybody wrong. I mean, we've had so many crazy things going on in these first 6 games. Trae Young's turned into a villain. Power outages are going on. We got blown leads. We've seen everything in this series, and I think it's going to be a really fun Game 7. But you know what? I think the Hawks have had momentum when they played Philadelphia on the road this season. So if you want my opinion on what is going to happen tonight, I see the Hawks winning tonight. I just think that they've had a lot of road momentum. Trae Young just loves the animosity. I think that he feeds off of fans hating him at this point. So he's balled out throughout his entire, first playoff run. I got the Hawks tonight.
All right, Dan. What are your thoughts?
I actually think the Sixers have a better chance of beating the Bucks just because I think they're more well-rounded. The Hawks. I just think Drew Holiday will be able to keep up with Trae Young more than anyone on either of these teams has. I mean, they haven't even put a Ben Simmons on him half the time. I don't know what they're doing. They're just like Doc Rivers is just wilding out over there. But so I think they'll have Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. Both of them are really good, exceptional defenders, actually. So honestly, I think either way, the Bucks are going to the finals. I mean, I picked that anyway. So I'm going Bucks in 6, no matter who they play. I think Sixers. I mean, I hope they pull it out because I think honestly, if they lose, Doc Rivers might be outie 5,000 because that's a bad loss in this series. They can't lose this kind of series to a team that's just should not be beating them by right now. I mean, they're a year away. I think the Hawks. I mean, DeAndre Hunter got hurt. He's out for the year, and that's a huge loss for them. Obviously, they lost Hall of Famer Danny Green out here, the Sixers. But I don't. DeAndre Hunter's, I think, a bigger loss than Danny Green was. But I think, I mean, right now it's like Tyrese Maxey and Seth Curry, and Seth Curry's playing like Steph Curry, honestly, and Joel Embiid right now for the Sixers. So I don't know. Tobias Harris has been kind of like, I don't know where he's been either. Him and Ben Simmons have been at the same place, I guess. So I still think the Sixers. I still think the Sixers pull it out tonight. I think, like Yusuf, you said, it's Game 7, so anything can happen. So I'm not comfortable picking either team, honestly, to win tonight. It's just Game 7s are always up in the air. I mean, you saw yesterday, ball bounces your way one time, or a ref gives you a call that time, and it changes the game. So anything goes. Game 7, you hear the saying every time. Anything can happen. So that's the thing about it's just one game. Best of one, like the NFL for the playoffs. So anything can happen that one game. So we'll see. I mean, the home court advantage is big. I think the home court advantage, and as long as the Sixers don't, like last game, go up by 26 and just completely Doc Rivers stops coaching and they kind of just take their foot off the pedal, they'll be okay. I think they want it to be a close game, honestly, because that way they can stay focused the whole time instead of just kind of start going like, oh, can't wait for the Bucks now. So we'll see.
Yeah, I basically have the same thing. I really see personally the Sixers win this all. Because at the end of the day, like once
winning like finals all, or are you talking about?
No, not finals, just like the Game 7 series.
Oh.
Now, if you're talking about like for the Eastern Conference finals, we'll talk more about that later. Okay. But personally, it's like this for the Sixers. It all depends who's going to show up. Is it going to be the Game 5 Sixers, or are we going to see the Game 6 Sixers where it's just pure dominance? And at the end of the day, like I love Atlanta to death, but they're still maybe a year or two away from being legit title contenders. Because we could be potentially just looking at another Miami Heat situation with the whole entire bubble situation and how Miami was just pure dominance all the way to the finals. I think they wind up losing it, but still, like everybody thought they were going to do the same thing this year, and they wind up getting swept. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But I still got the Sixers winning it, even though Atlanta is probably going to put up a good fight. If they do win, it won't shock me. No. But I guarantee you, during free agency, a lot of people are going to be looking at Atlanta as a potential threat or maybe a good move to go to that team. They got the proper coaching, they got the young stars, they got the chemistry. And especially they're doing it without one of their main stars from last year, DeAndre Hunter, who's, like Dan said, is hurt with, I believe, an ACL injury or MCL.
I think it's ACL, yeah.
So basically, at this point, it all determines like who's going to show up. That's on me. I mean, that's on them at this point in another like 30 minutes.
Right.
But speaking of pure dominance.
It would have been real quick. It would have been interesting to see Joel Embiid against the Nets though, because the Nets love this small ball, and I feel like Joel Embiid would have just taken every shot for the Nets until they put in like DeAndre Jordan finally. What happened to him? He's getting paid $40 million. Didn't play 1 minute. What they just say? Get off.
Honestly,
yeah, we were talking about that before the show. I don't know where DeAndre Jordan is right now. Probably in Aruba or something. Hanging out.
Didn't play at all.
Watching the money pour in while Kevin Durant is literally having an asthma attack out there, playing 53 minutes. I don't know. It's
all right. I'm gonna keep the conversation in the Eastern Conference for right now. We're gonna go to the Bucks and the Nets. Of course, the Bucks last night duked it out with an amazing Game 7 series win. It was like 115 to 111. Really, it was like what? 113, 111, and then there was the BS foul.
Yeah,
we're not gonna get too much into it, but
nobody was on the court. James Harden left. Like no, it's not over.
But I'm just gonna be honest. This shows like this Nets team, they are gonna be dominant, but they just were not ready yet. Play
together, man.
Every single dominant team that we've seen since we were watching basketball, they took like a year and a half to develop into that team that we all thought of. And I feel like the Nets, honestly, after that James Harden trade, they were missing a lot of key holes, a lot of key players, especially Spencer Dinwiddie, one of their key role players, especially when Kyrie's hurt. He was hurt.
Jared Allen.
Jared Allen was hurt. Oh no, Jared Allen is traded.
Traded. Yeah. Big blockbuster trade with Jared Allen.
Then
sad too. Great defender. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Then you also had DeAndre Jordan not playing in his single minute in Game 7, which I feel like he would have been better suited for instead of the whole small ball lineup. Even though the small ball lineup still worked to a certain degree, but it still showed their weaknesses and they adjusted.
Yeah.
But all right, Dan, we're gonna start off with you on this one. I just gotta get your thoughts on this. Honestly, probably one of the best series that we've probably seen so far in this playoffs.
That was definitely an instant classic. I mean, don't forget the Bucks lost DiVincenzo, and I just do not like Pat Connaughton. I think the guy is not good. I mean, it's just like watching yesterday. They just kept him in for so long. I was like, dude, put in PJ Tucker, man. Save your team. Pat Connaughton, I mean, he's jacking up threes from 28 feet away, airballing. I'm like, what are you doing? Who do you think you are? So DiVincenzo was a big loss. I mean, obviously Kyrie going down was a big loss just as well. But I mean, we all knew this was gonna happen with the Nets. I mean, if you never play together, I mean, they were injured the whole year, these guys, and then they come into playoffs and everyone just assumed they were all gonna be healthy the whole time, and it's just not really how.
They played a total of like 12 games together.
I don't blame necessarily the players. I mean, we've seen it throughout the NBA. Like LeBron said, I mean, I've been saying this for a while now. Just the shortest offseason you've ever seen, and it's backfiring the NBA now. All the stars are getting hurt. I mean, you've seen Donovan Mitchell. The guy was playing on one leg that last game. I don't know if we're getting a Western Conference, but when we do, Donovan Mitchell, absolute stud. But you've seen that. I mean, obviously Kyrie, James Harden, LeBron, AD, the list goes on. Joel Embiid. It's just everyone's just been getting hurt, and it's just not fun to watch these stars get hurt. Obviously, I'd rather see James Harden full health and see what he's bringing this time, or Kyrie full health and just, see what these teams can bring. But it's just been tough with them just not even giving an offseason to these guys. So, but that's the business world for the NBA, trying to make the money. But yesterday was an instant classic. I mean, what a game. That shot by KD at the end was just, what a shot. I mean, like PJ Tucker, he said in postgame, he's like, I was just literally laughing. It's nothing you could just no matter what you do, you could put 5 guys on him, he's gonna make that shot.
It was just pure respect at that point.
That's just like, dude, you're just better than everybody else. I mean, you can't teach that. I said that. You can't teach that. That dude's he's probably, I mean, I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say he's the best scorer of all time. I don't care who you give me, or I'll take him to score on anybody, anytime, anywhere. Put in Pippen, put in Draymond. I don't care. KD's scoring. He's getting me a bucket. He's the greatest scorer of all time. You earn
Now,
my respect enough for that.
now, realistically, towards the end, I didn't like that hero ball move he did last second where he missed the three.
He didn't have
Honestly,
faith in anyone, bro. He just didn't trust anybody anymore.
I know, but like,
You pass to Joe Harris.
no. But like at the end of the day, I did see a lane towards that end. I was like, maybe
Yeah,
he
he had no
drives
legs.
it.
So yeah,
Yeah, I know he was fatigued. I know he wasn't thinking, but I was like, damn, I wish he took it to the
I
hole.
know.
If he
Yeah.
took it to the hole, brought it to another overtime, I feel like they would have won it all. But
I don't think so. He would have played like 60 minutes almost, bro. There's no way. He was too fatigued. He was 0 for 6 in that overtime.
He had his hands on his knees for
He
that
was
entire
done, man.
overtime period.
Him and
He was
Giannis
so
gave it all
gassed.
they had. They just
Yeah,
they had nothing left. Those two. I mean, it was an incredible grudge match. You just saw those people. It was like two boxers in the 12th round, man, just throwing haymakers, like every Rocky Balboa movie ever, just throwing them around. Not even all the rules are out the window.
who knows, man? Who knows what would have happened? He probably would have made it and gotten and one foul. He probably would have missed it. But at the end of the day, like it was still like one of the best like series we ever like best
Oh, yeah.
game we ever seen.
Yeah,
Mhm.
what a game.
All right, Jack. I know you've been dying to say what you want to say, so go at it, man.
I mean, I already kind of touched off on it when we started the show, but it just, you know what? It was the Kevin Durant show for the Nets. And I don't think that, like this is a league now. You can't have one guy running the show and expect to win every game. James Harden, like I said, he didn't show up. I understand he was dealing with a grade 2 hamstring injury. Joe Harris was probably the next guy. Joe Harris or Blake Griffin were probably one of the next guys up to maybe take that role while he was recovering, maybe give him a little rest, maybe take a bigger role on the team. Joe Harris didn't score more than 20 points in the entire Eastern Conference semi-series. He got 19 in game 1. Woohoo, that's great. He got 10 points last night. And I vividly remember a shot with less than 2 minutes to go in overtime that he just completely blew.
1 minute
And
left. There was like 1 minute left, I think.
yeah, and you know what? Between that, Blake Griffin fouling out, that jump ball that if the Nets got it, probably would have been a different story for the game. Nobody ended up getting it, but it was still out. I think on Durant, or I think it was on Durant, but just and you know what? He had a pristine height advantage over whoever it was he was going to give it up against with the jump ball, and just completely blown. So I'm just upset. I'm disappointed with the whole series. Like, you come home, you turn on the TV, they're up by 2. I think it was 111, 109. They didn't score the second I turned on the TV until the end of the game. I mean, can't be mad at KD. I know he airballed that last shot, but you know what? If I played 53 minutes and I was in my mid 30s or early 30s, I don't know how old he is. He's losing hair. That's how old he is. So, but you know what? Can't hate on him. James Harden playing with an injury, still no excuse though, because he's still one of the greatest players in the world. He's probably better than an average player with an injury, right? I mean, come on. Blake Griffin played his heart out last night, probably the defensive anchor last night, but obviously played a little too hard because 2 minutes left and you got to put in, I think it was Mike James or whoever it was at the end of the game, who was also dealing with an injury. This is just it's just injury, the movie for the Nets this year. And I think that was the big problem with them. But you know what? If this team stays together, they make right pieces. Spencer Dinwiddie's going to come back. So you know what? If this team stays together, maybe makes good, smart moves in the offseason. I know that they're not going to keep all these stars. Maybe Joe Harris is going to be on the market. I don't know. But for God's sakes, please keep that big 3 because it's going to happen. And it's probably going to happen next year if they stay healthy. So that's all I got to say on the matter. We're just looking to next year now.
They got, so it was 6 points for the Bucks, 2 points for the Nets in overtime. So safe to say they were tired. Both teams, everybody was fatigued as hell in that overtime.
Gee, I felt like everyone would just go home at that point.
Whatever it takes at that point, literally.
But speaking of dominant performance, the Phoenix Suns against the Nuggets, 4-0. Where are the brooms, guys? Like they went and swept the Nuggets, and honestly, for the first time, I'm actually kind of excited for the Suns. And this is Devin Booker's first time ever in the playoffs. You already dominated LeBron. You swept the MVP Nikola Jokic, and already in Game One in the Western Conference championship, you're already like dominated with a triple double.
Yeah.
And 40 points.
And 40 points against a Kawhi-less, but Paul George Clippers team. And I just wanted to get your thoughts currently on the Phoenix Suns team. Like this, are we looking at a potential new face of the NBA, or is this just a one-hit wonder?
I'll start because I love it when Stephen A. Smith is wrong. So I'm going to point it out at every opportunity that I can, saying that the Suns are like, oh, they're one piece away from being, a true championship contender. Buddy, they're ready now. Ayton, CP3, Devin Booker, without even having to be mentioned. These guys are just doing amazing things in the playoffs. Everybody's, we all knew they were going to beat the Nuggets. Beating even AD-less Lakers team. People were saying that the Suns were going to struggle, and they did with CP3 shoulder injury, but they got past it. They're making their fans famous now. Suns in 4. We got them going up against the Clippers, who honestly they were lucky to make it this far. That Mavericks series frustrated me because I know on paper the Mavericks are better than the Clippers. The Jazz series, I thought were one of the most complete teams in the Western Conference. Like you said, Donovan Mitchell is playing great. Again, I'm sorry, I got to say that, but I will say this about Donovan Mitchell, and Stephen A. Smith is wrong here. He called Donovan Mitchell the greatest Jazz player of all time. I wouldn't be so quick to say that just because the guy had a couple of, great playoff games, and obviously he did last year. He's proven that he's a top 3 Jazz player, but to compare him to the greatest pure point guard in NBA history, pure point guard. I'm not saying he's the greatest point guard, but as far as being a role player in the position, John Stockton was the best. Karl Malone, second highest scorer in NBA history. It's a lot to look up to, despite this team not having any rings in their history. Donovan Mitchell could end up being one of the greatest Jazz players one day. They got Rudy Gobert. I love Jordan Clarkson. I don't think that, the sixth man of the year gets enough talk. He played, I think it was like the third quarter. He played out of his mind in the third quarter last night, dropping 21. But it just didn't happen for him. I guess, you know what? This is probably the best example of playoff P that we've ever seen. And by that, I mean probably the only example we've ever seen of playoff P since at least his Pacer days. So, I mean, I think the Clippers are lucky to even be, in the Western Conference Finals. And now they're probably going to stay together because they've made it this far. At least, they're going to be like, oh, well, Kawhi wasn't here, so when he comes back, we can make it to the finals. So, you know what? Respect to the Clippers for getting this far. Like, I love a good underdog story, but nobody seems to like the Clippers, and myself included. I'm Suns all the way. I hope the Suns win the whole freaking thing. I mean, obviously, I'm still, it's been a day since my heart was broken last night by the Bucks, so I'm not going to be rooting for them right off the bat. I like the Hawks, and obviously, as a New Jersey and a New Yorker, whatever you want to say, I do not like Philadelphia sports, so I will not be rooting for the 76ers. Sorry, Dan. I live in this region of the country. I do not respect them. So, at the end of the day, it's either going to be the Suns or the Hawks for me. That's the finals that I want, and it's the finals that I hope to see.
All right, Dan.
I want to start off with the Nets, Knicks, Rangers, Islanders thing. I've been seeing a lot of now the Islanders are in the Eastern Conference Finals or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what they're calling it now. And then you had the Nets doing well. And then, so if you're a fan of one of these teams, stop switching teams, whichever one's doing better. If you're a Ranger fan, then be a Ranger fan. If you're a Knicks fan, then be a Knicks fan. Don't go, oh, well, the Nets are good now, so I'm going to be a Nets fan until the Knicks are good again, and then I'll go back to the Knicks. Pick your team. Now I see all these people, oh, I'm an Islander fan when they were Ranger fans for all these years. I'm like, dude.
Dan, you got to realize those are bandwagoners. They're not
buddy.
the true breds.
I'm still a Devils fan. They suck, but I still am. I mean,
the Devils aren't even in an equation. Nobody switches to the Devils. It's all between just pick a team. Just nobody switches to the Mets. The Mets are the Mets. Like you're just a Yankee fan, or you got the Mets weird fans. It's all just pick a team. But anyway,
fan too.
off the bandwagon, There's, I respect it. Hey, that's what happens when you're a Devil fan. You're always a Met fan. It seems it's so good. But so like the Suns, listen, the Nuggets they had too many injuries. They didn't have his chance. Jokic did all he could. He got ejected on one of the worst calls I've seen. I mean, it was all about the refs. They just wanted to make their own show out of the thing. I mean, it was a flagrant one for sure, but to eject a guy, I mean, like, I'm just kind of tired of these guys in the NBA just laying down on the floor after they get poked in the eye for 20 minutes. Like, dude, all right, we get it. You got poked in the eye. All right, like, it's not like you got shot in the leg or something. Like, let's get up here. So Cameron Payne, he shouldn't have laid down the whole time for so long. Maybe they wouldn't have ejected him. He made it seem so serious. I mean, they might have pulled out that game, probably not, but like still, you don't want to see the MVP get tossed for a measly flagrant one. But they just didn't have a chance. Jamal Murray was too much of a loss, and Michael Porter Jr. proved that he's just not capable yet as a number 2 guy. He's still number 3, and he has a long way to go. But I mean, he missed a whole year in playing basketball, so it's not like he's in any rush. And I'm just glad no one's talking about Bol anymore, like he's like the next Hakeem Olajuwon or something. Okay, like that's calmed down. After his one game in the bubble, everybody was like, "Oh my God, this guy's crazy," and nobody talks about him anymore. So that's good.
He still needs like a year.
He needs a lot of development still. So I'm glad nobody talks about him. Like that was a little wild. People were getting crazy.
Let Jokic do from right. Then he'll be back on the roster.
When it comes to the Clippers, hey, I gotta give credit where credit is. Ty Lue's been making some fantastic adjustments, and this is what I've seen so far from these playoffs is these voters who vote for these awards are idiots. First of all, Monty Williams on the Suns is the coach of the year. I'm sorry, Yusuf. Tom Thibodeau is not the coach of the year. Monty Williams for the Suns is a fantastic coach, and that guy's coach of the year bar none. I mean, I don't even know how Tom Thibodeau won. The coaches voted for Monty Williams, and then some bozo media members are like, nah, Tom Thibodeau, because he coaches the Knicks. Like, that gets me going. And then defensive player of the year, can we stop voting for Rudy Gobert? The guy is not that good. I mean, he can protect the rim. And I look at what Draymond said. There's more than protecting the rim on defense. This isn't college basketball where you can run a 2-3 zone and have a 7-footer stand under the rim like they did with Taco Fall at UCF and they almost beat Duke. Because there's no 3 seconds in the paint violation on the defense. So, like, you just saw the Clippers exploit the hell out of that guy, and then they just didn't make any adjustments. They weren't like, oh, maybe we should take out Rudy Gobert. Instead, you see Terrence Mann drop almost 40 in Game 6. This guy's not going to drop that much probably ever again, as far as like in the playoffs, maybe in the regular season, because teams will adjust, unlike the Jazz. So that just got me going. Like Draymond said, there's no situation on defense that you can make him uncomfortable. Rudy Gobert, if you make him guard on the perimeter, he's very uncomfortable. As we saw, he has no closeout ability, and it's just embarrassing. So I think we just got to, stop voting for Rudy Gobert. I mean, we just got to get him out of there. He's no Hakeem Olajuwon. He's not even close. He's no Shaquille O'Neal. And I know Charles Barkley bags on him all the time, and that's just rightfully so. We saw why he was drafted last out of all the All-Stars. Because this guy should not be an all-star. He shouldn't be a defensive player of the year. He shouldn't be. Donovan Mitchell might leave because of Rudy Gobert. Because that guy is just no. It's just a no-go. So he probably, imagine if he won finals MVP on 12 rebounds and 12 points a game. That would, and 2 blocks a game or something. People were afraid of that. That's Rudy Gobert in a nutshell right there. So, and then what Jack said about the Utah Jazz, best player. John Stockton for sure. I think Karl Malone's probably top 3 most overrated player of all time. I mean, the guy consistently choked in the playoffs for them, as we saw with Michael Jordan just slapping the ball right out of his hand because Karl Malone was so unaware in the playoffs.
I will say I might have said that in the moment just because I feel like a lot of his points were off of John Stockton pick and rolls, and that guy just knew how to be a field general. So Scottie Pippen got in his head at the free throw line by saying the mailman don't deliver on Sunday. So that's really all I have to say. And Karl Malone is a scumbag, which I'm not going to get into his off-court antics.
I'm sure it's well documented. Anyone who wants to look him up, you can see that. But we'll just stick with his on-court, and I think he's a very overrated scorer, just like Wilt Chamberlain, I think, is a very overrated scorer. But that's for another time. And I do think Donovan Mitchell, I would put him number 2 as far as greatest Jazz players. John Stockton's definitely still number 1. But, I mean, you can't – he has most steals all time and most assists. So, like – and even Magic Johnson said he was the best point guard ever. So,
Wilt Chamberlain, overrated. This guy averages
Absolutely.
50 points a game in a season. And you could say, oh, it was during an era with a bunch of white guys in the 60s and 50s. But you know what? You drop 100 in a game. This man dominated an entire era. The fact that we're not comparing this guy to the Jordans and the LeBrons and the Abdul-Jabbars actually gets to me. This guy dominated wherever he go. He didn't even like basketball growing up. And I know we're going off topic very much here. We're talking about history. We're not talking about what just happened. But I will not have the name of Wilt Chamberlain slander during this podcast.
Give me Bill Russell any day of the week over Wilt Chamberlain, 110. It's every day of the week, twice on Sunday.
Wilt Chamberlain in his prime versus Bill Russell in his prime. By the way, Bill Russell also had John Havlicek. He had what was his name? Sam Jones, Casey Jones, all these.
He made them better though. How many times did they win after he retired? 0 is the correct answer. That's because he made them all better. He made them Hall of Famers. They didn't make him a Hall of Famer.
I'm not saying he wasn't the best out of that entire group, but I mean, overall,
Bill Russell couldn't score like Wilt, but he was a way better defender. And back then, that was way more valuable than it is now. Now, everyone just cares about scoring. So they just go, oh my God, 100 points in a game on probably 1 million shots. That's like the Lakers thing. Everyone just likes to jack up shots, I guess, in their history. They like to have high volume on terrible efficiency. That was Wilt Chamberlain, especially against Bill Russell.
By that logic, Kyle Kuzma is the perfect Laker.
Yeah, that's fine. Hopefully now they want Kemba, which is ridiculous. But anyway.
Oh my God, I don't know. I don't even know.
Kemba's washed. I'm sorry, Kemba, but you're done, bro. You're washed. That's why the Celtics traded you for like a 40-year-old Al Horford. That is.
All right. We'll get into the Kemba talks later when we get into the off seasons.
Yeah.
But I know we were touching bases on the Clippers versus Jazz game. Of course, the Clippers pulled it off with a 4-2 series with honestly I believe a G leaguer. It was the man. I believe his last name was.
Yeah. Who is this guy?
Rudy Gobert. That's who that is.
Terrence Mann. There we go. He had. I see his stats right now. In 36 minutes, he had 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and 39 points.
Oh, almost. So I was right, 40. Yeah.
So honestly, like that's absurd for a guy that's at
how many shots did he miss? 6 shots, right?
Yeah, only 6 shots.
That's what Donovan Mitchell said. He said he missed 6 shots. That's what happens when you put Rudy Gobert on someone.
But the thing about this is like this. Of course, it's like I'm not gonna say, oh my God, this is gonna be like the new 3rd guy for the Clippers. Oh my God, he may be pretty good. This is probably just like a once in a lifetime thing, and he took the opportunity. But the thing with the Jazz, what kind of disappoints me is the Clippers were weak, honestly. Kawhi was gone. All they had was PG, and they didn't capitalize on the opportunity to get back to the Western Conference Finals. And how many years? Like almost 20, almost 30 years already?
97, I think, right?
Oh my God. Since 97?
Probably when they lost to the Bulls, yeah.
And you decide now not to take advantage of it, because I'm just gonna be honest, next year you're probably not going to be in the same position you're going to be. You're probably going to be at most like a 6th or 5th seed, especially everybody's reloading in the free agency. Everybody's getting healthier. Like, it's absurd to me. Like, yeah. I give credit where credit's due, though. Terrence Mann, you did put on quite a show. I'm hoping you do best in your futures. Clippers, honestly, I don't know with the Phoenix Suns, because Phoenix, of course, it's the Suns, and it's the Clippers. Somehow, some way, they managed to mess it up somehow. But in other words, I'll put this question out for Jack and Dan. What does this mean for the Jazz's future? Now, Donovan Mitchell right now is the current star there, but you can tell throughout like all the social media stuff, all the Bleacher Reports, that a lot of young stars right now, they don't want to stay in their teams that they got drafted with. And it's kind of
Doncic.
seemed like Donovan Mitchell is starting to get to that point where he's frustrated, not with his contract, not with his play, just with the team overall. And Dan, I'm going to start off with you on this one. I want to get your comments on it.
Yeah, so like I just went on that Jazz rant just a little bit ago. I mean, first of all, Rudy Gobert shut down the league and he gave everybody on the Jazz COVID. So because he thought it was a joke. So they already don't like him. And then he starts doing what he did yesterday, being terrible, bringing nothing on offense. And then it just gets even worse. So I think if Donovan Mitchell probably saying, let's get this guy off the team now at this point. I mean, the voters giving him Defensive Player of the Year again is just absurd to me. I mean, Draymond Green, Ben Simmons for any day of the week over him. But they're in trouble. They are in trouble if they got some good players. Bogdanovich didn't really show up that series. I can say that. He missed a lot of easy shots that he probably would normally make. And Joe Ingles wasn't doing anything spectacular. But they definitely need to reevaluate the situation with Rudy Gobert. I think that's really the key. And that's really going to be probably what Donovan Mitchell is going to talk to him about is, are we going to get somebody else in here that's just, they're just playing 1990s Jazz basketball out there instead of 2021 Jazz basketball. So they should just have everything run through Donovan Mitchell at this point. I mean, posting up with Rudy Gobert is not really the best decision at this point, especially in the NBA with the state it's in. So we'll see. I think they definitely got to reevaluate that situation if they want Donovan Mitchell to stay.
You know what? It's funny. I look at the Jazz now, and they really remind me of the early 2010s, like late, throughout the 2000s. I see like a Spurs model with them. I feel like Donovan Mitchell, for as great as he is still being limited because of the way that the Jazz like to play. But you know what? I like the system. Overall, it gets, bench players time to do great things. Joe Ingles is doing, it gets Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson, time to, really show what they can do. I love Jordan Clarkson. I can't talk enough about Jordan Clarkson. I'm probably going to get his jersey. I'm probably going to go on eBay after we're done here and get his jersey because I love Jordan Clarkson so much. But, at the end of the day, I really think that this team should stay together. It's complete. I think that, obviously they were missing a little bit of pieces here and there throughout the series. It's really disheartening when you can't beat a team that is looking as much like prey as the Clippers did. But you know what? Maybe they just need one more piece because I don't see the Jazz as guys who like to bring in big superstars in free agency. They are guys, they are home growers. They, they grew Rudy Gobert. They grew Donovan Mitchell. I don't know if Joe Ingles has been playing there his whole career, but I know he's been playing a decent portion of it there. Like this is a homegrown team. Jordan Clarkson's been all over the place. I already know. I still because I remember the story of Kobe telling him to stop dunking like a light skinned dude. But this is a team that has its own separate system that's kind of NBA independent. I respect it. You can say what you want about Rudy Gobert, and I agree with you. I don't think he should have won defensive play. He shouldn't have won Defensive Player of the Year. That was BS. That was all league politics. Same thing with Jokic actually winning MVP. I thought there were maybe 2 or 3 guys who were worthy of that. Then again, one of them couldn't even get past the play-in tournament. I'm sorry, Steph Curry. But all in all, I think these guys should stay together because they got a good thing going. I don't know how it can get much better than what they have. And obviously, a lot of these guys are going to be asking for more money in the offseason, contract extensions, things like that. So don't go out there and feel pressure to get another piece. Just maybe I can't say look to the draft because it's not like the NFL draft. If you're not getting a guy who's a top 5 or even a top 10 draft pick, it's going to be rough for you. There's only so many great players in every, in every college offseason or whatever, in every draft. And especially if we're talking about outside of the lottery, which the Jazz are just as far as the lottery as anybody else who's still in the playoffs right now. But you know what? Keep the team together. I like them. I do.
All right.
Including Gobert.
I'm not gonna lie with the Jazz. as much as I want them to stay, I'm gonna give it like maybe one more year with them,
That's
and
fair.
then realistically, I feel like the Jazz, they're not one of those organizations where they're like a huge market. They're like one of like the smaller market teams, like maybe honestly one of the better market teams for
Mhm.
the small markets. But I don't feel like they're gonna throw in the money to keep these stars around, especially like they're getting all the way to these points, and most of the guys on the team, they've been drafted there. Why do you think, for example, Gordon Hayward left? Like they weren't going to pay him,
No.
and he was a stud for them. I mean, granted, he kind of
Not
went
doing too great now,
not
but
doing yeah, he basically declined now, but at the same time, like this is going to be the same thing with Donovan Mitchell. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to decline right when he leaves, but it's basically up to the management over there. Like, are we really going to go all in for this one star, for this one guy? Honestly, I feel like they should trade Rudy Gobert. Like, honestly, with you guys, I'm agreed. Like, there's no way he should have won Defensive Player of the Year. I have 10 other guys that did better defense, and most of them were role players, and he's a starter. And you gave him like what? Super. I remember the Supermax contract was like 100 mil. Like I know for a fact that's probably going to be the
Yeah.
chink in the armor where Donovan Mitchell is going to leave.
well, let me.
Because go
Sorry.
ahead, go ahead.
Let me say this because I've actually been thinking about this. The cogs have been spinning up here, and you know what? If trading Rudy Gobert is really an option that we want to go to, and I know that the Jazz don't need a point guard, but hear me out on this. Cleveland, out of all teams in the NBA, we never talk about Cleveland because they're horrible. But
Traded for
if you
Andre Drummond.
Andre Drummond, Colin Sexton. When Colin Sexton is your best player, that there's a problem there. I think they have Jared Allen now. I think that's who they got
Yeah,
out
They
of that
love, they
draft.
love trading for big man for some odd reason.
they got like 4 or 5 big men on that roster, which makes
For
no
some odd
sense.
reason, yeah, they
So
just love that.
So
Kevin Love is
obviously-
still sitting there.
Yeah, so obviously, I think Gobert still has a ton of trade value. If I'm the Utah Jazz GM, I'm trading Gobert. I'm getting Jared Allen over to Utah. Not only that, I either want a draft pick or I want Colin Sexton too.
No
I-
shot.
I- No
Nah,
shot. No, you know what? Gobert, as overrated as you think he is, he's got a lot of value in the NBA
They're not
politics.
trading a 23-year-old point guard who's on the rise for a
Andrew Wiggins got traded before he even got to play, so anything's possible in the NBA. This isn't
Listen,
the
man,
NFL.
Colin Sexton already has like
Yeah.
trade destinations, and one of them is the LA Lakers, from what I heard. But even
What?
then, like I feel like Rudy Gobert, it's just the price is just too much because he's
Jared
going to
Allen,
push your salary
I
cap.
Jared Allen over
hard.
Rudy Gobert. There's no way their Cavs are making that trade. That'd be ludicrous. I mean,
It's-
they are really bad. So if they did that, then I mean, they have no excuse. They should fire everybody in the organization. Just clean house.
Honestly,
Like a janitor, upgrade to janitor. Maybe it'll be Goodwill Hunting, and the guy's a genius.
Honestly, it's coming to that point of like they're probably going to duke out the Rudy Gobert contract for maybe 1 or 2 years before thinking about drafting him, because, like I said, like he's already too expensive. Like it was ridiculous. Like why didn't you give that to Donovan Mitchell? And that's proven my point of they're not basically they're not committed. They're not committed to their young stars at the end of the day. They just want to see what this guy can do. If they can give him a championship, that's great. But they're not going to stick with you. They're just going to keep going. The cogs are just going to keep going. They're just going to keep moseying along. Like if it's either you're going to ride with them or you're going to get traded or you're going to leave. And that's my problem with the Jazz. They let all these good opportunities go. And it's annoying. Like it bothers me, dude. It's a lot of stupidity in the management.
Yeah.
And
Signing a big man to a large contract has never really worked recently. Like, remember when Timothy Mozgov got made to look like he was the next coming of Hakeem Olajuwon because LeBron James, and then he went to the Lakers on that crazy contract, and I don't think he ever played another minute again or something. Same thing with DeAndre Jordan to the Nets. Barely played.
I mean, he did get the bag though. So
That's right. It's just doesn't seem to be working out signing these big men to these contracts in recent history, at least. So I like one thing right now though is mostly small market teams. Obviously the Clippers are not small market, but Phoenix Milwaukee, I mean, if they would have lost that, Mike Budenholzer is not the coach anymore. And that's a whole, like you said, a lot of changes are coming in Milwaukee if they lose that series. If that toe's not on the line for Durant, whole different ball game for the Milwaukee Bucks. There, a lot of changes are coming. Giannis is frustrated, blah, blah, blah. Middleton's not getting the ball enough, whatever. So it's a big difference. Mike Budenholzer job got saved by
a shoe size,
big ass shoe,
pretty much,
as he says.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna steer the conversation right along. I know we were talking about small markets, and I'm gonna keep it going for a little bit, guys. With the most of the small market teams, especially now, I looked at some of the Bleacher Reports. I did see Adam Silver wants to bring back Seattle, and he wants to get a Las Vegas team coming in. And honestly, I heard potentially the owner for the Pelicans, he wants out of New Orleans. And I want to get your guys' opinion on one of the worst small market teams out there, which honestly, I feel like they shouldn't be, especially with the talent that they got. And honestly, I feel like the NBA is punching themselves because they also lost billions because they let one of the best generation stars for the future, Zion Williams, go over there. He's doing what he's doing, but he doesn't have a team around him, and they're losing constantly. They literally made the play-in tournament to try and get this man in, and they still couldn't get it done. So honestly, Jack, I'm going to start with you on this. What's going on with the small market teams, honestly?
You know what? I mean, look, are we okay? Well, let's start. Are we really calling New Orleans a small market? I mean, it's probably one of the biggest cities in the Deep South. It's definitely, as far as Louisiana goes, like that whole mid-eastern area, it's definitely one of the biggest cities down there, Hurricane Central or whatever. I think that's really their main problem down there. You know what though? The thing about it, I don't like the Pelicans. I don't like the Pelicans organization. I don't think that Zion Williamson fits in their system at all. It's just like I look at it and I'm like, this dude just looks ugly in a Pelicans uniform. And not only that, it's just like, yeah, he does what he does. He's a great player, and obviously he's brought them into sort of relevancy. But like you said, they've done nothing to help him. They have done absolutely nothing to help him. And in today's, I mean, they had Drew Holiday, they had all these other guys and all these other pieces that might have made him look good. I still think that if Zion Williamson didn't get hurt at the start of last season, this team maybe could have made the playoffs because they looked a hell of a lot better when he got back. So, I mean, look, it was a down year. Maybe moving the team out of New Orleans is the best option. I don't think New Orleans is a great basketball market. It's obviously a great football market. We've seen that over the past decade, but as far as basketball goes, I don't see any value there. They haven't won since they moved that organization from Charlotte. I think their best shot was maybe when they had a young up and coming CP3. Even then they didn't look that great. So I just don't see, if you lose for this long in the same place, you gotta move. Like there's just no other way to put it. And you were talking about expanding. Yeah. Like you were talking about expanding though to Seattle and Las Vegas. Seattle, I am all for expanding to Seattle, man. Those guys deserve fans. They've proven that they deserve fans. Like you see it, they would have a huge home court advantage if those fans move back to Seattle. But you know what? What is it with sports in Vegas now? I don't understand. It's not a city that really has a home field advantage in any sense. I don't know why. I know the Raiders were just probably looking for any excuse to get out of the Oakland Coliseum, so I don't blame that. Plus, playing in Oakland, it's not a great place to live. But why Vegas? It's literally a place that guys who are having their midlife crisis 40th birthdays go to gamble their kids' college fund.
Why, Jack?
Huh?
You want to know why?
Why are they moving to Vegas, Yusuf?
Because it's a very valuable market right now. Because
honestly,
honestly, right now, you got a hockey team in Vegas. I know baseball is trying to get a Vegas team over there. You already got a females basketball team over there. You already it's just common sense. Like the money's there. And New Orleans, as much as I love them, Like football, like they literally proved like they're a football city. They don't care about the basketball team. So
No,
why stay there?
no, I mean, yeah, absolutely move. I'm just saying, I think that there are other better options than Las Vegas. I mean, we can't say, I mean, look, obviously the money's there, but you have to look at like a home field because like I don't know. I just don't see like a nice like homegrown like is this going to be like like a place where people are going to want to watch basketball? I just don't see it. I don't see people in Vegas like interested in sports. People who are in Vegas, I mean, maybe in the surrounding Nevada area, but like out west, if you're not living in a city, you're not living anywhere at all because it's the desert. It's Nevada. Who lives in Nevada outside of Las Vegas or Reno? Nobody. It's just I don't know. It's maybe obviously I'm wrong. I don't go to school for economics over here, all right? I don't or marketing. I think that I could at least maybe name three better cities that places should move to. Off the top of my head.
All right, I got you on a few.
Yeah.
I know
Help me
Vancouver
out.
was another choice.
Excellent. You
Then
need
you
more
had
Canadian markets for basketball.
St. Louis, baby.
St. Louis was another one. Then
They
you
need
had
sports back.
who else? I know Jersey was up there. Not really. Kansas.
I don't know about
Stop it.
Kansas City. I'm being serious. Kansas City
Oh,
was
Kansas
an
City.
option.
Kansas City. Kansas City.
And then they were also thinking of another overseas, like either Mexico City or all the way in England, which I'm like, how are you gonna do that?
Yeah, travel would be horrible.
I hate that. That's stupid.
Yeah, like I know that in the NFL they're talking about the Jags moving there now, and like there are huge talks about that now, and I just like I mean I like the prospect of like an American team playing in London, but at the same time it brings travel issues. It doesn't really make any sense because like if you're
They
gonna
don't
be
like
competing,
football anyway.
yeah, I mean they like a different kind of football.
Right.
I mean okay, look, obviously there's like there actually is though there's like a Jaguars following in London, obviously because they play there so much because they barely have a home field advantage in Jacksonville. So, I mean, London is just a market that people have been playing around with and nobody's bitten at it yet. But yeah, I don't see like I don't understand like maybe like northern Mexico I can see teams moving to, but not London. That's just too much.
Listen, the reason the Vegas Knights are very successful right now. I'll tell you what, is because Vegas is a great place for home field advantage. I'll tell you what, or home court, home ice, whatever you want to say, because the other visiting teams come in and they're gonna party all night, and then the next day they ain't gonna be ready. Just like all these hockey players, why do you think Vegas has been so successful? Because they're all like, oh my God, now I gotta go play, and I'm not ready to play. So bring everyone to Vegas. You get a great home court advantage. Like Lou Williams, you don't think he's going to be going to those strip clubs? I mean, come on. That's what these guys are there for. They're going to be going to the clubs, partying it up, and the next day they're going to be like, oh, now we got to go play. Especially if it's like an early game, 3 o'clock or something, they're going to be way out of it. So that's what you got to do. Pelicans, get them out of New Orleans. I mean, they just fired their coach, Stan Van Gundy. I don't think it was his fault necessarily. They're just looking for anything to keep Zion there. I know they said his family's not happy or something, whatever that means. I don't really. This is weird. Now, I guess they're interviewing families.
Honestly,
instead of players, are you
family,
unhappy? Like with the, I don't know.
I feel like it's a cover up when they say like family. It's mostly him that's probably saying it, give or take.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Like I think it's very interesting the situation with Luka Doncic. Now, tell me how this guy brought them a championship, Rick Carlisle. And he resigns, and then the GM resigns, and they have a 22-year-old stud. So that shows me that something I've never seen with Luka is that he is trouble, he is difficult to deal with, and he thinks it should be his way. That's what I see from Luka now, that all these guys who've been there forever are all of a sudden resigning. Obviously, you're not going to trade Luka because that'd be just preposterous.
That'd be absurd.
Guy's a stud.
He will probably leave before you even think about trading.
But obviously he has a crazy ego already, which is probably only going to get worse. So they should probably Mark Cuban should try something, I would say. Otherwise, they're going to be in trouble. Because if Rick Carlisle's dipping and the GM are dipping, then there's definitely some. I guess I read somewhere that he was at like practice and just like telling Carlisle no, like he's just not going to do what he's telling him. So that's clearly you never heard that from like any other star. So clearly, big issues there. I don't know what they're teaching over there in Slovenia, but I guess they were like, Luka, you're the coach and player. Like, go ahead. So I don't know. Maybe that's how it is for the Olympics too. Maybe he's just kind of doing whatever he wants. I don't know.
Yeah, they'll get crushed by the United States. Actually, you know what? The United States isn't really as good at.
Ooh, I don't know. They look at this year, baby.
Okay, well
Durant?
who's their roster this year? Because I know that like during international play since 2016,
they were buns. They were buns.
Yeah,
they had like freaking Kyle Lowry and stuff. Nah, they were buns. This year though, they're gonna be whipping up on.
They're gonna be really good.
But
But
who we talking?
Great.
Who's the starting lineup?
Well, I know D Book's in. I know
Kevin
Damian
Durant
Lillard's
just
in.
committed like a few
Kevin
hours ago.
Durant just committed.
Uh,
I know
Damian
Draymond Green's
Lillard.
in, so you got a defender.
Draymond Green we can skip over, but you said Lillard. Okay.
Lillard. Yeah, D Book. I'm pretty sure is in. I know KD.
DJ McCollum, I think is another one.
Oh,
You know what though?
Dominating.
I know it's not like interesting, like because like obviously like as much as like people talk about the legend of the Dream Team, you know, in '92, and how good they were, and like how they basically had all the best basketball players from that generation playing on one team, and they did, and they, you know, they dominated everybody. Like I just want to see one more team like that, just so in like 2K23 or something, we can have the Dream Team, and we can have a team that has like LeBron, KD, Kyrie, Harden. Obviously, I'm mostly naming Nets because some of the best basketball players in the world are on the Nets now. But like Embiid, you know, Donovan Mitchell, Book, like all these, like CP3, like all these other guys on one team. That would be awesome. I mean, they'd steamroll over everybody. You know, I mean, obviously, you know, Luka playing
like Union back in hockey.
Yeah, like Luka playing for little Slovenia. Like, I mean, obviously that'd probably be the best thing to put up a fight, but you can't put up Luka against, you know, the entire NBA and expect anything to be done there. So
yeah, Spain's done now. They don't have anyone left.
I know Australia's on the rise.
Joe Ingles, right?
Joe
Yeah,
Ingles,
Australia's
Ben
not bad.
Simmons, John.
it still amazes me that, like, because I almost said Ben Simmons when we were talking about the USA, and then I forget, like, this guy was born in Australia. It's weird. It's like if they had like international like American football teams, it would be like Tim Tebow would play for the Philippines. Like it's just really weird. I don't know,
but anyway, like I'll close it out. But like Luka Doncic, I'm gonna go off of what you said, Dan. We may be seeing another type of LeBron type of effect, but only with Luka. I don't know if he believes like he's the man that's gonna carry this
None of his
entire
coaches
league.
ever resigned though. Like he might have gotten him fired, but like they weren't just like, I can't deal with this guy anymore. Like Rick Carlisle was literally like, I just can't deal with this guy anymore.
Which is crazy because that's a lot of like warning signs.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody was ever like, I can't deal with LeBron anymore. They're like, well, I got LeBron, so I'll stick it out.
Yeah, until he decides to trade you.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's just like, should we worry? Like, of course, the Mavs are going to be good regardless until eventually he decides to leave. But should this be warning signs for the next coach and the next GM of like, this man could be trouble. He could be your go-to star, but
he will be your go-to star.
He will be, but I'd still be scared if because this guy obviously is getting a big ego now. I think, and we really saw it in I saw it in the playoffs too. This guy is getting a big ego right now. So I would be scared personally because I feel like he's gonna look, he's gonna be one of the greatest NBA players for years to come. But because I mean he's younger than us, so obviously this guy's got quite the timetable.
By 2 years.
Yeah, by 2 years for me. I think this guy was maybe born. I think I only beat him by a couple of days or maybe like a month. I don't know, but still, like he's obviously got a big timetable. But if he's getting a big head when he's 22, you know, like we didn't see Michael Jordan. Like we all watched The Last Dance, and we know how Michael Jordan was behind the scenes. Dude was kind of, you know. There's a lot of words I want to use for how Michael Jordan was, but we're a PG show. So, but you know, like he was kind of a jerk behind the scenes, and obviously it ended up working because he wanted to win. I mean, that was the whole reason that he acted like that, but he never really, I think, meddled in, you know, the general management of the team. I mean, I don't. Okay, look, it's just
Him and
it's just
Jerry Krause didn't really like each other for a reason.
well, yeah, but you know what? When he had issues with Jerry Krause, then he just left. So, like he didn't meddle with the team. He just said Jerry Krause was an idiot, and then he walked out.
Yeah, he kind of had to.
Yeah.
They were gonna get rid of everybody else, so it had just been him by himself.
Yeah.
So he had to retire. It was retire or be put with Kwame Brown or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
3 Kwame Browns. Phil Jackson was out too.
Oh, it'd be like, does Tony Kukoc get to stay? No, he doesn't.
No,
Nobody gets to stay. You can have Luke Longley, and that's it.
Like we talked about last episode, there's definitely a lot of yes man coaches, and they're gonna need one. They're gonna need to find a good yes man. Do you say yes? Yes. All right, you're in. That's what they're gonna need.
I just really don't think. I just don't think that the NBA should succumb to yes men coaches. It just doesn't look good. It's not good for PR. It's not like it just. Yeah. These guys aren't here to just like stand there and like look like talking heads whenever they're on the floor and yelling at guys who inevitably are not going to listen to you, because this isn't a players' league all the time. Like, come on, these coaches need some respect, because like the days of like Popovich are dying out. You know what I mean? Like we don't see any great guys like that. Phil Collins or George Karl. I could even say like all these like great coaches. I mean,
but honestly, dude, at the end of the day, I just feel like the NBA is just striving too much to be like the NFL. Like they're trying to be that sport in America. That's why they're doing all these dramatic changes just to get that revenue up, even though they're going to do hella fine regardless what they do. But I feel like at the end of the day, it's just like a lot of people are starting to notice, or they could be tuning out, or they're not watching as much, or they're not selling as much, to where we might see the league do something drastic where all 3 of us may not even like, and we all love basketball since the day we were little. So we'll see what happens in the future, but at the end of the day, I'm just like, man, just stick what you got for right now. Just improve here and there. We'll tweak it a little, because you're gonna get the money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But anyway, boys, I'm gonna get your final predictions for the Western Conference Finals. Who's going? Jack, we'll start off with you.
Suns. I don't even know why I asked. It's gonna be easy. They're gonna go up 2-0, and then maybe the Clippers will get a game in, and then Suns will wake up and just be like, no, this ain't happening. I just don't see. I don't. The Clippers were lucky enough to get to this point, and I don't think they're getting any farther. I think they should have been stopped by the Jazz. I really wanted to see a Suns Jazz Western Conference Finals. I think that would have been way more fun than what we're about to get. But yeah, I got the Suns going in 5 games, I think. I don't know if Kawhi is going to be healthy by the end of this series, or did he play today? Like, I don't even know.
No, he didn't play.
Yeah, so I don't see them getting that far. Playoff P is a myth. So he's like Bigfoot, you see spurts of him. You saw him in the last game against the Jazz, but it's not going to be enough. So yeah. Go Suns.
All right, Dan, what about you? Western Conference.
I think it'll definitely be exciting. Watching I hate to pick against the Clippers. I've done it twice now, and they keep winning, so I kind of hate to pick against them once again. Because then I know if they make the finals, I'm going to pick against them again. And so I don't want to pick against a team 4 times in a row and they win 4 times in a row. But I'm going to pick against them again. And I do think, this is something I was thinking about earlier before I got on, that Chris Paul is a bigger loss to the Suns than Kawhi is to the Clippers, because Chris Paul does a lot of things that as a point guard you need, like controlling the tempo. He controls it probably better than Kawhi would. And they won today because Devin Booker went off, but that's the kind of performance they're going to need without Chris Paul. So, and I don't think he can do that every game. So I think it'll be, if Chris Paul does come back, I think they'll be fine. They'll win for sure. And if he doesn't, then I think it'll be a tighter series than people think. And I think the Suns will win in 7 if Chris Paul doesn't come back. And if he does come back, then Suns, like Jack said, probably in 5. And I'm sure the Clippers will probably somehow win it or something. So, and then I'll be here again picking the Bucks.
Honestly, like I'm going with the Suns. I'm all three of us all going for the Suns, but it all depends when Chris Paul comes back from the COVID protocol. Probably is going to be like another week or another like few days from what I'm hearing. But once he comes back, it's basically Suns in five. I'm gonna go Suns in five, unless playoff P and Terrence Mann pops out of nowhere and drops another 40. I don't see the Clippers winning more than just one game. Then honestly, all right, then since you already said your pick for the Eastern Conference,
Bucks Suns.
you already said Bucks Suns, Jack. I'm gonna go on to you. Who's winning it out? You got the Bucks, or do you have whoever wins Game 7?
Look, as much as I root for an underdog. We've seen it in my predictions. Well, not the Nets, just because I'm kind of, I was obviously, what's the word I'm looking for? Biased because I am a Nets fan. So, but every other place, like I like seeing a good underdog. But if we're gonna talk about logically here, I'm gonna have to say the Bucks are gonna win the Bucks are gonna win it in the Eastern Conference. It's gonna be a really interesting finals. I think it's gonna be Suns Bucks.
Suns have home court.
Suns would have home court. So there you go. That's already like the formula for.
I think they've had the best fans too. Best home crowd. I think it's been this Phoenix, other than New York that game too.
Yeah. So I mean, we're looking at Suns Bucks. Suns get home court advantage to start. We're looking at the formula for like at least a 6-game series, I would say.
Yeah.
It's funny because they steamrolled over Jokic, and I know that obviously Jamal Murray was a big loss, but I thought they would at least get one win out there. And because I mean, they're still a tough team, great culture over there. I don't know what it is about these Mountain State teams, but for some reason, like they play like European style basketball. Like, I mean, they got great pieces over there, and like everybody contributes. But you know what though? Yeah. So it's going to be Suns Bucks. Going to be a fun finals. Finally, a different finals than what we've been seeing for decades. We're not going to see Boston. We're not going to see the Lakers. We're not going to see Golden State. We're not going to see LeBron. Thank God. So it's going to be fun. I'm really excited for the finals. My Nets might not be in it, but you know what? That opens a whole window of opportunity because now there's so much uncertainty in who's going to win this whole thing. I can tell you right now, though, it's not going to be the Sixers or the Hawks, unfortunately, or the Clippers. But out of the two that are still left that are favorites, could be anybody's series. So it's going to be fun to watch.
And of course, with my last pick with the Eastern Conference, it all depends if they duke it out. If Atlanta wins, I feel like the small ball will be a little bit too much for the Bucks. I'm going for that underdog.
Whoa.
I feel like Atlanta might pull a Miami and just go to the finals. Now, are they going to win it? Probably not, because I have the Suns winning in 5 games. Only reason why I'm saying that is I just feel like the small ball and basically the team as a whole would overcome a lot of what Milwaukee's bringing, unless Giannis decides to pull like 40, 50 points every single game. Then it's a different story.
I agree. I like what you're saying, but the Nets did small ball and it didn't work, and they have the best score of all time. So tough to go.
That's true, but you also got to remember they didn't have a healthy roster. So
yeah, they have Clint Capella though.
That's true. They actually have a big man that can play defense. So
it'll be different.
But viewers in the comments sections below, who do you think is going to be your in your NBA finals? Comments in the comment section below. Boys, as always, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Always a pleasure, Yusuf. I'll see you next week.
Of course. Now, our viewers, thank you for watching another episode of Crunch Time NBA Edition. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out.